You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.
And just like that, international football is finished, and we are now back to the club side of things. Right enough, as you talk to a lot of fans, they are not interested in club football at the moment because the standard has been pretty poor. But at least the international team got 4 points at the last two games. Joined tonight by Robbie and Alex and also Reagan on the show as well. Get your comments coming in, guys. We'll be speaking about the big issues of the week, and we'll be looking forward to the Premiership action this weekend. Right, Robbie, it's we haven't spoke to you or Alex since the international break. So, how do you think Scotland fared on Tuesday? In fact, Alex was on the show last Friday night. That's how bag of memory I've got at the moment. But how do you think Scotland fared, Robbie, in the two games?
Yeah, I thought we were going well. 4 points, I think anybody would have taken that before the international campaign kicked off, so you can't really complain. I think if you look at the way the Denmark game went, probably a bit disappointed we didn't attack a bit more, but like that's probably just nitpicking at stuff. Like Clark and the players should be proud of the start. It's a good start. It's the start that we needed. You know, you're going away to play Belarus in a stadium where there's zero fans, a really tense, weird atmosphere. I think the commentary team made that known for the full game. So, like, to go there and get the job done, keep 2 clean sheets in our opening 2 games, with a pretty big month coming up next month, I'll take that, to be honest.
Alex, we were talking about on Friday night, Scotland were very defensive, but it was basically the opposite on Tuesday night.
Yeah, it was
Monday night.
Monday night. Obviously, very different opposition, so you are going to have more of the ball. Because just naturally, if you've got better players, you will have more of the ball. And Scotland were more attacking, but I thought they did struggle at times. I was getting really frustrated with Max Johnston in particular, who was just lumping aimless balls into the box a lot of the time. Couple of good ones as well, but most of the time he'd get it and just swing it in and see what happened, which I wasn't too pleased with. But eventually Scotland did break Belarus down with a really nicely worked goal from finished off by Shea Adams, and then got the second just to give ourselves a bit of a cushion. And it wasn't an outstanding performance by any means, but you know, got the win. There was a couple of little scary moments, but you never really felt like Belarus were in the game. So yeah, I'm really happy with that, and I think this is the first time in a while where I've come out of an international break, maybe wishing it was a little bit longer, rather than desperate to get back to the club stuff, because I'm still not in great spirits going into the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, Alex, because like we were talking about the Rangers Celtic game a few weeks ago, and like, the best way to describe it was a bore fest, I think, for both sides of fans. But obviously, when you go through the international break, the talk is always on Russell Martin's future. But I think Russell Martin will be dragging away because the presser has been all focused on Celtic for the past 2 weeks, and maybe before that. So Russell Martin's went about his business quietly, but I suppose all depends on what happens tomorrow if he picks up 3 points, the first 3 points of the season.
Yeah, and I think he's been a little bit lucky in that respect. That Celtic have sort of taken the headlines recently with all the stories coming out and all the controversy around the club. Brendan Rodgers, obviously today coming out and calling the the Celtic insider who gave the story that he was trying to engineer an exit and he was destroying the club from within. He called him a coward in the press conference today. So, there's a lot to focus on for Celtic. So I think Russell Martin has been quite lucky. He's flown under the radar a little bit in the national media, but the focus from the supporters was still very much negatively on him. And yeah, a win tomorrow. It has. I know Hearts have started really well, but Rangers need to win. They can't go the first 5 league games of the season without a win. And then also as well, I think you can't go the first 5 league games of the season without a win and then justify having the man in charge is still there either. So I doubt that'll be the way the board works or the new owners. I feel like Martin's got a little bit more time than that, but yeah, and it's frustrating as well when you see Telo Arsgaard going out and banging in 4 goals for Norway. Nico Raskin scored for Belgium, but he's not going to be included in the squad. I think they had the reports where there was positive talks, but Nico Raskin's kind of aware that, and Martin's made it clear to him that he sort of needs to earn his way back in after, which if you separate who we're talking about here in the situation, if you separate that, if a player's kicked off, the manager, that is like pretty standard. You get the chance to sort of earn your way back into the squad, which is fair enough. But and then, well, Derek Cornelius scored a really nice free kick for Canada as well, and Russell Martin's not got his hands on him yet. So maybe if he's in the squad tomorrow, he'll be really good, and then he'll get accustomed to Martin ball, and he'll go to being rubbish.
Robbie will come back to the Rangers game in a wee minute or two, in the St Mirren game as well. Packet, Fizzle and Eardley is on tonight as well. Yeah, we do know that Fizzle for thrills, as I say. Celtic's going to go there next week. It's going to be quite interesting. But before they go to Fizzle, it's going to be quite interesting. They go to Rugby Park on Sunday, and there's going to be a protest at the beginning. I think it's in the 12th minute of the game. First of all, what do you make of what's been going on at Celtic at the moment?
I think, Michael, I've been watching my Celtic content and I have some content over the last week because there's just been so much to cover. There's been so much to watch, so many reports coming out at the same time. First of all, I think the fans are doing the best work they possibly can. You're seeing them going to meetings, they're signing up to, really stand against the board. I think it's been made clear it's going to be a lot of patience if Celtic fans, they want the board moved on, which I believe majority do at this point. So I think the process that Celtic fans are doing to make sure they get there is the correct one. I think obviously you speak about a protest at a game. I think that's the best way to go about the situation right now with the board. You're right, I think it is the 12th minute. The fans will enter into the stadium. But, that will need to be kept the same every week, Michael. I know there's football on the pitch to talk about, and obviously it'll be a bit of a difficult game. We've obviously heard the Kilmarnock players talking about, they want to use the disadvantages of Celtic right now to try and get at them. So, bar it being a big game, it'll be a big game off the pitch as well. The fans need to keep going at this for weeks. They need to keep at these protests, keep going to these meetings, keep spreading the message, because if you do want change, that's the only way it's going to happen. But in terms of the actual game, I'm excited to watch it, actually. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Celtic particularly come back for the Old Firm draw last week, or the week before, sorry. And how they sort of keep battling on, because there's been hundreds of talks and hundreds of questions towards Rodgers about the transfer window, but that's a business done now. They need to get back to playing football, getting wins. They've already got a pretty sizable advantage right now, also Rangers. So, they'll need to make sure they go there on Sunday and get the 3 points.
Do you really feel as though it's a good idea, Alex and Robbie, for the fans to do that, especially away from home? Because they're meant to be supporting the team on the park, and obviously it's not anybody's fault who's come in and who's not. So do you think it would be a better idea, kind of like protesting outside, or maybe wait until the next home game at Celtic Park, albeit it's going to be a few weeks away now. I think the next home game we play against is Hibs. But I mean, I do think a bit weird. Okay, it's because it's international break and all the rest of it. But you're playing away from home and you're supposed to be supporting your team.
Yeah, it's a funny one because I feel like football fans they're sort of entitled to do whatever within reason, whatever they want to to protest to whatever they can do that. I've got a weird thing about stuff like that though, because I never think it actually makes any kind of a difference. To be totally honest, the only time I can remember something really affecting it was when basically every club in the world got together and went, we don't want the European Super League. That's the only time that I've ever seen like the fans really affect a decision that the higher ups we'll call them would make. So fans are entitled to do whatever and whenever, but I just don't think it makes much of a difference in the long run. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
I think it can if they're persistent and they need to stay doing this. There's no point in doing this for a week, protesting for a week, and then going back to normality. They need to stick on at the Celtic board, and the Celtic fans actively need to make change. This week we've had the European book come out for Celtic fans, the cheapest in Britain, according to what I've read, for the 4 home games. If fans want to protest against the board, don't buy the Europa League book. Don't go to games. Don't give them more money than they're already getting. That's why they're so comfortable in the role they're in. Bar the protest, just if you make small changes like that, even if it is a small section of fans doing that, the board maybe will see a difference at some point. So I think, especially for the supporter groups, I think they just need to stay persistent and sending that message across to the board. Keep going to these meetings that are being set up. Keep sending the same message to the board, and I think if they're persistent enough, change will eventually come.
I'd see on your point about don't buying the European tickets and stuff like that. I'd probably disagree with that. I was actually watching Ryan 118 video, and he was talking about that, and he was talking about how people tell him to use his platform to tell people to not buy the stuff, and his kind of thing was, first of all, it's up to whatever someone wants to do, they can do that. It's up to them. And he said he's not he's going to buy the European tickets, because if he doesn't buy them and people go, oh, I'm not buying them, the thing is someone else will just come in and take it. And the boards don't really care about who's there. They're going, oh, they're not looking at it and going like, oh, that long-term 10-year season ticket holder didn't renew or he didn't get his book. They're just looking at the overall sales and going, all right, we're a couple hundred up or we're a couple hundred down or whatever. So I disagree with that point. And if the fans were persistent enough though, Robbie, I think it could make a difference, but I think it would need to be absolutely relentless persistence, like weekly kind of stuff. And yeah, it would take a lot.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the Celtic fans desperately want change. I read it online, so I know it is a lot to buy into that weekly and day protest weekly. But if these Celtic fans are serious about wanting change, they're going to need to do that. They're going to need to be persistent. They're going to need to be relentless on the board, because they're the same ones that are online that are being relentless at the board online. The board don't really care if you're writing tweets. They'll no bother. So until you actually, as you said, Alex, until you're relentless with us every week, then change isn't going to happen.
No.
Yeah, I mean, just to go on the back of that, I mean, it's the first year I've had my season ticket, so I'm going to take up the option because I don't want to lose out in a potential final or semi-final at Hampden. So I'm going to take up the option to go to the European games, and it's like Alex was saying earlier, like people are saying you should do this or you should do that. But like he said, but like he said, at the same point, if I don't take my seat for that game, then somebody else is going to take it anyway. Because Celtic and Rangers, Celtic and Rangers are that big that they won't see the big drop off that much. So I might as well go to the game, you know.
I suppose as well you could spread a bit. I suppose you could spread a bigger message at a game as well. You know, with the chanting, I'm sure there'll be lots of chanting at Kilmarnock. I'm sure there'll be lots of chanting when they get back to Celtic Park against Hibs as well.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have mentioned Brendan Rodgers yet, but I just seen a quote from him about 10 minutes ago, and he said that Dyson Maida told the club in February that he wanted to leave.
Yeah, I've seen. I haven't seen that quote directly today, but I've seen stuff like that, and there was reports that he was holding talks with Rodgers because Maida came out and publicly stated that he desired to leave, because there was a rumour that a German club came in for him and he wanted to go for it and Celtic blocked it. It's not a. It just seems like it's one thing after another right now for Celtic, and it's not a good situation.
Regan, I don't know. Sorry, Regan, I don't know if you've seen the reports that apparently Rodgers was going to try and open up contract talks with Maida. I mean, as Alex said, it does seem like a really weird situation. I mean, I suppose as a Celtic fan, Regan, you're probably a bit glad that he stayed at the club, because I don't even want to imagine the mess that Celtic fans are bearing right now if he wasn't there.
I'm glad he's at the club, Robbie, but at the same time, it's all about the Celtic board being able to do forward planning, because they should have been doing forward planning. I mean, if Maida's told them in February, they've got February, March, April, May, June, and July to be able to speak to agents to get replacements in, and for them to not even get two strikers in to replace Kyogo and Adam Maida is a total disgrace. Then to go to the free transfer market, they're even worse of a disgrace. I just feel like there's a real disconnect with the Celtic board, Brendan Rodgers, and the fans, and this could have been easily sorted. And I heard people on Twitter from other Scottish clubs saying, well, Celtic have had 13 in the last 14 titles and things like that, Robbie. But I think it's bigger than that. I mean, people like Brendan Rodgers have signed contracts and they're being let down by the club.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and I think as well there's different problems at different levels. There's always a problem for supporters or for the club or for a player or something. I don't think no matter what level of football you're at, like you get Real Madrid fans kicking off all the time, and you know what I mean. And then we're sitting here going, oh, look at them complaining and all that. They win Champions Leagues and stuff, but it's different. There are always issues at clubs, and I think they can always do better. So yeah.
And I'm just quite interested, guys, because I want your opinion as well, because I don't actually feel this Celtic squad is strong enough to do well in Scotland and European football. So I think the Celtic squad this season just need to focus on doing well in Scotland, because I don't think they're strong enough to do well in Europe.
No, I'd agree with that as well. And sorry to cut you off there, Robbie. I'd also maybe go so far as to say they might struggle to compete in all three domestic competitions to like a really high level as well. Just with the sheer lack of kind of recruitment and the weird recruitment as well. Like the likes of Shin Yamada left out of the European squad. We've barely seen Jemai Simpson-Pusey. Man City won't be happy with that. Obviously, Dane Murray looks like a decent player, and I'm happy for a young Scottish talent to be getting minutes in that. But barely, it's another weird thing. We barely have seen Simpson-Pusey. Iheanacho has not been properly fit for a while, so it's a bit of a gamble for him as well. And Ange Balikwisha, Michel Ange Balikwisha, Sebastian Tunetke, they both play off the left-hand side as well. So it's been really weird, and it's a really unbalanced squad, in my opinion.
I fear for Celtic that it's not the same relentless Celtic that we're used to. You know, I remember us playing them last season when they came to Paisley in the rain. They beat us 3-0. I think it was Callum McGregor scored within 2 minutes. And you look at that team that season and you're going, right, they're relentless. They will no stop until, you know, they dominate a team. But I'm honestly going into these weekends looking at Rangers and Celtic and legitimately thinking they could drop points every weekend. You know, it's not the same Celtic and Rangers I'm used to, and I love to know, you know, the thoughts that guys like Tony Bloom, you know, with everybody in Scottish football laughed at him when he was talking about wanting Hearts to challenge for the title. I mean, look, I don't think it's going to happen this season personally. I still think Celtic or Rangers will win the title, but as an owner's perspective, they've got to be, you know, letting their lips at the prospect of playing Celtic and Rangers right now, because, you know, they've got to really fancy their chances.
I think for Hearts as well, this weekend is a massive opportunity for them. Not just in terms of beating Rangers, but also in sort of putting them even further out the race, if they were even in it at all. But yeah, putting them. We'll go with putting them even further out the race just to spare my heartache. And then, but also they're looking at Celtic and the state that they're in, going to Rugby Park, and they'll be thinking, if we can get the job done at Ibrox, there's a good chance that by the time the all the fixtures have wrapped up in the weekend, and we'll be looking at the league table on the Monday, and we'll be top. So it's a big weekend for Hearts, a big opportunity for them.
Regan, I was just saying to the guys before before you come on, I know Celtic are having a protest in the 12th minute on Sunday. I was thinking to the guys as well, do you think it's a good idea for Celtic? I know why the fans are doing that, right? But do you not think that they should just back the team, especially an away game as well? Because, I mean, I don't know what the team would think about them protesting, because they're still going out there to win the game for Celtic as well, and that's going to put that's going to put them off a wee bit.
I think it'll put them off a wee bit, but I think the fans are just trying to show their frustrations, and they're showing it in front of the Sky cameras. I think in terms of what Celtic are doing, I think Brendan Rodgers now, he said his piece today. It's still not up in the Celtic website yet, but he said his piece today. And I think now we'll just be trying to focus on football, because if you don't focus on football, then it possibly may affect the players. But I think in terms of a 12-minute walkout, I don't think it'll affect the players too much.
Yeah, no, the Celtic press conference is not up on the YouTube channel, but it's interesting, Regan, that they put Callum McGregor up. Like he was up from the players today, but not the manager.
Yeah, the manager was there today. He done his press conference earlier, but it's still not been uploaded by the club. Maybe they're fixing it up, or they're doing whatever they're doing, Michael. But it's interesting. It just feels as if there's a bit of a disconnect from the club to the board to the manager.
Yep, and the press conference started at 1:30 today, so I wasn't as if it was, like 4:30, Robbie, as well. It was like a few hours ago now, and usually you find if it was a kind of, what you would say, a normal weekend, and, Celtic were going to come out, that press conference would have been up 10 minutes after the press conference. But Regan might have a point there about that. They're trying to about to edit things out the video.
I wouldn't surprise me if it was a very dumbed and edited version of the press conference. Regan's right. There's such a disconnect right now between the board, the manager, even the fans. The fans. I feel the disconnect between the fans and the board, and the whole club in general is probably the biggest gap right now for me. There does seem to be such a disconnect, and you've got to credit the fans, Michael. I know for, you might disagree with them getting in at the 12th minute and, missing that first sort of 10, 12 minutes of football, but the fans are at least trying to make a change. You're seeing the amount of surveys, you're seeing the numbers, it's all there to read online. You can read the amount of Celtic fans that are actively trying to make change, and you've just got to credit them for trying to do that, because it must be a tough thing to do. It can't be easy. The board, you've got to wonder how they're feeling right now about the situation between them and the fans and stuff like that. So, you've got to actively credit the Celtic fans for at least trying to make the change.
Regan, what was your quote on what I thought of the press conference about Brendan Rodgers online? Alex touched upon it before you come on.
Yeah, it was very explosive. I mean, Brendan Rodgers was no holding back. And I'm glad he's no holding back, because it's not Brendan Rodgers' responsibility to be holding back. I found it interesting that he mentioned about the Sun newspaper as well. He expects the person that was talking about him to be sacked. It'll be interesting to see who he's talking about there, Michael. But yeah, I think in general, he said that he would be happy to stay on at the club, but as long as he is 100% backed. He said that the board members that he speaks to regular is Dermot Desmond and Michael Nicholson. Read into that what you will, but I think in terms of Celtic, I just feel like Brendan Rodgers said that again today. He said that they need to be better at planning, and I think that's exactly it. They need to be better at planning. If they know that people want to leave, they need to get replacements in. It's not as if Mike just chapped the door on the 31st of August and went, by the way, I want to go. He chapped the door at February 2025. It was a long time. And for Celtic to dally and low balls over so many players, so it's something in the recruitment needs to be sorted. Celtic hired, I think his name's Paul Tisdale. Chris Sutton called him Dr. Doolittle, because I think he's spot on there, because that's a guy that Brendan Rodgers thought was going to be brought in to be able to help the club progress. We'll still see what exactly he's doing. We'll still see exactly what Celtic as a club want to do moving forward.
See, just purely on the manager side of things and Rodgers, and you take everything that's happened there the last few weeks out of the equation, I'm looking at a guy, Regan, and I could be wrong here. For the outside, I'm looking at a guy that knows how to play this in this league. He knows how to manage Scottish football. He knows he's a really good coach. He's had a lot of experience. If I'm a Celtic fan, I want the board to fling absolutely anything at this guy to make sure he sticks around. I want him signing a contract right now, because this is a guy that knows how to win trophies, and I know a lot of Celtic fans don't want him to stay at the club, and I don't know the reasons for that, but I'd want him to stay.
Robbie, to be honest with you, I think there's a few people at Celtic Park in the boardroom that don't particularly like Brendan Rodgers. That's my honest opinion. I think he's too ambitious for the club. He's too ambitious, because
that's a damning statement as well. He's too ambitious for the club.
There's a huge look at Russell Martin at Rangers. Look at the last 3 Rangers managers. So Alex, sorry to bring it up, but it's true. Look at the other side of Glasgow, and look how much they've struggled under bringing in guys that they maybe thought would work. Look at Philippe Clement. I know he had his title, but for me, there's such a risk factor in getting rid of Rodgers, and Nutson's always a name that gets flung around for the next Celtic manager. For me, I'd be doing everything to try and keep a hold of the guy I know is guaranteed to bring me success. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Bro, I think the biggest quote for me, guys, this season that Brendan Rodgers said when asked about is he going to continue as Celtic manager, he said, "I'm willing to continue as Celtic manager, but I'm not here to maintain. He's here to progress." And I think that's the best quote for me, in terms of he's putting the gauntlet down to the board, saying that the only reason that I'll stay is if you're going to progress. But if you want a manager to maintain and just do whatever you tell them, I'm not going to be a guy.
By the way, just in case anybody buggies forgot, Celtic has got a game this weekend. as well. I know that we spent the best part of 209 minutes talking about this, and I have a feeling we might come back to this for the next couple of weeks, maybe up until maybe pantomime season. I don't know. Let's run through the games then, and it's Kilmarnock against Celtic. We'll touch upon Alex's Rangers against Hearts, Aberdeen against Livingston, Dundee against Motherwell, Falkirk against St Mirren, and Hibs against Dundee United. That's a lot for the weekend, guys, in the Premiership. Let's just talk about the game quickly, Regan. Celtic and Kilmarnock, and I think from a Kilmarnock point of view, they'll be rubbing their hands about this. They'll be saying, well, obviously maybe not the shackles and the pressure's off, because there's always going to be pressure when you play Celtic and Rangers, but the focus has been on Celtic for a few weeks and they're away from home. And don't forget, Celtic didn't have the best record at Rugby Park last season as well, so they're going to be up for the game.
Yeah, they'll be looking forward to it. I mean, I was interested yesterday when the Kilmarnock striker, I think, I don't know what his name is. Is it Daniel? He came out and said that Celtic are having a bad time. I think if I was Stuart Kettlewell, I'd be saying that behind closed doors, but maybe not to the Sky cameras, because then the Celtic players and the Celtic manager, we wouldn't be able to see that. But maybe he's just talking through common knowledge. But I'm looking forward to the game, Michael, to see what type of team Stuart Kettlewell plays. Is they going to be on the front foot? And in terms of the whole atmosphere, in terms of Celtic as well, and the fans and Brendan Rodgers and that.
Yeah, I mean, what obviously we'll talk about Kilmarnock in a minute, Alex, but what kind of reaction do you think Celtic will put on, especially because half of the team's been round the world for the international team, but also before that, Ibrox, and they get a point there?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the reaction will be, to be totally honest with you. To me, everything is pointing to a draw, a slow kind of slog like we've seen the past couple of games with Celtic. Obviously, Rangers, that was a really boring game, but it was a wee bit different. But I think, to me, it's all signs are kind of pointing towards a 0-0 or a one each, and Celtic won't really come out the blocks firing, unfortunately, for the Celtic supporters. I think it's going to be a really difficult afternoon, to be totally honest with you, because I think we've seen in the last few games they've struggled to create. Against both legs, against the Kairat Almaty and then against Rangers, and at Rugby Park, when you've got, it's just a recipe for disaster going to Rugby Park on that surface, and then you've got a big 6'7" target man up there as well to make it difficult for you when Kilmarnock get the ball and lump it forward. And I just think it's going to be a really, really sort of tough afternoon for Celtic overall. And I don't think it's difficult to gauge. Going back to your original question, I've went on a bit of a tangent, but it's difficult to gauge what the reaction will be. But I'll just say I don't think there'll be much of a reaction. I think it might just be more of the same.
Robbie, and AFA Kilmarnock point of view, I mean, looking at Stuart Kettlewell's press conference yesterday, he said that Celtic are top side, but we won't listen to the outside noise. We'll just focus on ourselves, and I suppose that's what he's going to be saying to his team on Sunday before they go out.
Look, as bad a situation it is on and off the pitch at Celtic right now, Celtic can still pick you apart. They easily can. They spend millions on players, regardless of whether they've spent enough. That's a whole other topic. But they've got enough quality to go and win every game in this league. So, look, Kilmarnock will still need to be at their best. I will, as Alex said earlier, I'll be interested to see how Carter, Vickers and Scales deal with Dackers and Daniels up front, because it is a big front two that will look to get after them. So it's going to be interesting battles all over the pitch. The midfield, it's interesting as well. David Watson, Brad Lyons probably playing in the midfield for Kilmarnock as well. There's some good players Kilmarnock have got, so they will need to be in the front foot. Like they'll need to get it Celtic, but they'll need to be careful as well, because as tough a situation as it might be right now, they can pick you apart.
Yeah, and from one happy story to another happy game. Alex, I don't know if you're going to tomorrow. Rangers against Hearts, and I suppose that even though that the press has been off, well, I was going to say press has been off Russell Martin for 2 weeks. He would be loving this, like the headlines over at the other side of the city. But yeah, it's a must-win. It's a must-win game tomorrow for Rangers.
Yeah, definitely. It's a massive. I touched on it earlier. It's a massive game for Rangers, and it's not going to be an easy one either, which is quite, coming out of a poor start to the season. You've got your little international break, and then you need to play second in the league, who have been pretty good so far, and they're looking to sort of insert themselves into a proper title race. So I'm quite nervous for it, to be totally honest. I don't think in the international break there'll be any miraculous change. However, Rangers somehow always do find a way to beat Hearts, so my kind of illogical part of my brain's going, yeah, it'll be fine. But the logical part is thinking it could be another draw or even a loss at Ibrox, because Hearts, they're hungry. They've started the season really well. They've got loads of new players in the door who've hit the ground running. New manager, good feeling about the place. Obviously, that statement from Tony Bloom, originally everyone laughed at it, and now people are kind of looking at it and going, "Oh, okay, he might have been onto something." And now I feel like I don't know. I can't really speak to the psychology of the players, but I feel like they'd use that as fuel and sort of, just bring that into the game, and I think it's going to be a really tough, sort of intense game for Rangers, definitely. But I won't be going to the game tomorrow, unfortunately. I have had I've had some issues with finances recently, so I couldn't get a ticket. I'll be in the house watching it. Hopefully not smashing my telly up.
Alex, everything this week seemingly has been about Nico Raskin, and he's done so well for Belgium, and obviously then you get Russell Martin telling you that he's not going to be in the squad. But that's not my question. My question's about the attack. I'm really interested. You've spent £8 million on Yusuf Chermiti, who I'm not going to judge yet. His obviously record isn't great, but it does seem to have a bit of pace that he can maybe add to Rangers. Then you've got a guy that you spent like 2.6 million. I think it can rise to Bojan Miovski. To me, it's a really weird situation, and I don't know about you, but there's no way, in my opinion, you can no start a guy that you've paid £8 million for. But I also don't think you can afford to drop a guy you've spent nearly £3 million on in Bojan Miovski either. It's a really weird situation where you've got two strikers there that you've paid a bit of money for. They come probably wanting to make a difference in the squad. So who do you think starts?
4-4-2, mate. The two big men up top. Russell Martin's not going to play that, but that's the way I'd want. That's the way I'd want it to be. Have the two big men up top together, but that's not the way. I don't know, to be totally honest, because I think right now, based on evidence, based on age, based on proven ability, to play in this league, the correct option would be to go with Bojan Miovski. But like you said, you can't no start a guy you've paid £8 million for. So, and well, a rubbish guy you've paid £8 million for, but from the evidence, 3 senior career goals, which is fantastic. But yeah, I don't know. I'd rather Miovski. Don't get me wrong, I'd love it if Chermiti was in there and he banged a hat-trick in and, you know, happy days, that 8 million justified right there and there. No, but yeah, so I think it's going to be interesting. I think the only sort of nailed-on Rangers attacker right now is Gassama. I think he's been Rangers' best player this season, along with Jack Butland. And you know, when you're putting Jack Butland in the best player conversation, for a club like Rangers, obviously you want to see him perform well. But when he's been facing so many efforts that you know, he's sort of sticking out in your mind. It's not a great situation. And on the right hand side, I don't even know, because Ant-Man's been rubbish. For some reason, Martin doesn't seem to like Curtis. Obviously, against Celtic, we had Mikey Moore playing off the left and Gassama on the right. So yeah, it's an interesting situation. It's fun to sort of speculate and think of different ways you can deploy the attack. So I'm not sure, but I'd rather Miovski, Gassama. I would rather Curtis, but he's not going to play him, so probably just chuck Ant-Man back in.
And yeah, so and for Hearts, I mean, they'll be a bit like Kamara in a way, because they'll be like licking their lips going to Ibrox as well. And if you remember last season, they were only, what was it, 2 minutes away from winning the game, and Rangers
that
won
might be 2 seasons ago.
2 seasons ago, yeah. But yeah, I mean, regardless of that, Robbie, Hearts have started the season well.
And they've got some very good players as well. That Kizreed is just amazing on the ball. He's so technical, great stuff. We know how good Braga is. You've also got Shankland up there. Hearts have got a lot of key danger men, and it will tell a lot how the game starts for both teams, because if Hearts get Rangers and we're yet to see Cornelius, and if I had to predict a lineup, I'd probably say that he'll play Suter and Cornelius. That would probably be my assumption. I don't like particularly the other centre backs that Rangers have got, so that would be the back to our lineup way. But I'd just be interested to see how they deal with this Hearts attack. I think that's the one thing I'm most looking forward to: how Hearts attack the game, how Hearts go Rangers Day. They've shown their fear against them. You know, is this the time that Hearts can go and try and get a result? Because it's something that Derek McInnes will want. You know, you want to keep this run going. It's been good so far. They've picked up some decent results. Obviously, a bit of a knockback getting put out of the cup, but they've responded quite well. They've done some amazing business. They've got a really big squad, so you know they'll be short on options if the game's maybe missing a bit of quality. You know, if you're a betting man, you're leaning more towards Hearts in this game. You know, I know Rangers famously always beat Hearts, but if Hearts are going to do it against Rangers, you have a feeling this is probably the time.
Now is the time. I like that, though, your wee thing there, Robbie. Yeah, trying to hide the massive grin when you said them getting knocked out the cup was a bit of a knockback, because obviously it was the famous Paisley Buddies that knocked them out of the League Cup.
The supercomputer can't handle it in Paisley.
That's brilliant. No, that was class, man. I think I spoke about it on the show. I didn't realise that there was actually a wee bit of a, you know, sort of wind up between Hearts and St Mirren fans. It was kind of blowing up on like Twitter and TikTok and stuff like that.
It was funny. I mean, luckily for Hearts, I don't think it's going to damage their season too much.
No.
But this is probably one of the best chances they're going to get to beat Rangers at Ibrox. It is. I mean, look, we don't know. Rangers could come out and be 4-0 up after 30 minutes. You know what I mean? We genuinely don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. but it could. I mean, you know, if you start, say the lineup comes out and it does somehow start Miovski and Jermaine up front, suddenly there's a bit of a different feel for Rangers fans going to Ibrox.
Alex, I just wanted to ask you a wee side note. I don't know if you saw this. It's reported in the Scotsman today that former Rangers player and coach Jermaine Defoe wants to try is working his way back to Ibrox over the summer as a coach. What do you think of that? I don't know if you've seen that yet.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know. I mean, if he did have a brief kind of coaching spell, I think at Rangers that ended quite quickly, and he's done. He's been at Tottenham's academy for a bit. He worked with Mikey Moore. He actually, when Mikey Moore heard about the Rangers' interest, the first person he called was Jermaine Defoe, and Defoe told him to go for it. So yeah, I'm not sure. Couldn't he hurt having him in as a coach? To be totally honest, but I don't see any kind of instant benefit to it, unless you brought him in to personally coach Chermiti on how to finish. I don't really see any sort of instant benefit to bringing him in.
I was just about to say that as well. His first job will be trying to coach Chermiti on how to find the back of the net. I don't think. I mean, I don't think it's going to prove too much. Like on the pitch, we're not going to see any major differences in Rangers because he's joined. But I mean, he's had a stint up here before. If anything, you do know he can find the net. You know, he was a really fun player actually watching Scottish football when he was up here for the time he was at Rangers. Actually, so you know, I don't think it would do any harm. I think it would probably boost the coaching the team a wee bit now.
He was so weird because you could see his legs were done, but it still felt like he just glided across the pitch. You know what I mean? And some of the finishes, you can tell why he's in the top 10 Premier League all-time goal scorers.
Aye, he's a really, really good striker.
So yeah, it's a big 90 minutes for Hearts, but also it's a big 90 minutes for Russell, man. I think the first goal is always going to be crucial, but especially in tomorrow's game, especially if it goes in the way of Hearts, and it would be interesting to find to see what how the fans are going to react, Alex.
Yeah, I think tomorrow the fans, I think I sound like a broken record, they'll start out really supportive, but if it starts going south quickly, then they'll turn really quickly, and this little brief respite from watching Rangers, all the feeling will come flooding back, and they'll be raging all over again. So hopefully Rangers can start well, because all you need in football is a glimmer of hope, a glimmer of something, and you can latch onto it and sort of ride that and take it into the next match, into the next challenge, into whatever, and that can take you far. If you know, so hopefully Rangers can start well tomorrow, because if not, the fan reception will quickly turn sour and toxic, as it's been for the past few weeks.
Is there any chance Martin gets sacked if he doesn't win tomorrow?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't see why they would.
I don't think
keep him through an international break where you could be using that time to bring in a new manager, and then he doesn't get a result at the game back, the first game back, and then you sack him. I don't see why you would do that. Or
I wonder if the board's plans to give him the next 4 weeks, considering that's when the next international break is.
Maybe.
I just think that there's only so lot. Say Hearts did go to Ibrox and win tomorrow, and let's just say for argument's sake, Hearts keep a clean sheet, right? There's only so much Rangers fans I think can handle at that point. You know, they're already pretty sick of what's going on. You know, I'm not surprised to hear Nico Raskin chants tomorrow at some point during the game as well. So you know, I think you're right. I don't think he would get sacked, but I feel like this is probably the most important 4 weeks for Rangers.
Aye, and if Hearts win tomorrow, I'll be terminating my contract with a Scottish Football Zone. Never show my face online ever again. I'll become a recluse, and I'll just no one will see me. And then when Rangers start winning games, I'll like pop back up, and I'll have like a Hagrid kind of beard going on. Day 360 of not shaving my beard until Rangers win a game.
Do it for charity. But yeah, I mean, Hearts have started the season well, Robbie.
They have, aye. Again, as I said earlier, they've got some really dangerous players. As I said earlier, Kazridas looks a really good player. He looks like he might be the key man for Hearts. But they are missing, I believe, Frankie Kent for the game. That is a pretty big defensive miss. They'll still need to be good. This is what I'm saying, Michael. We can speak about the bad performances for both sides at Glasgow in recent weeks and whatever else is going on, but they've both got the ability to go and swipe any team aside. So, Hearts will need to be careful, but go and play your own game. That McInnes will show no fear into Rangers, and I know he won't. He's set up the exact same way he does any other time he plays. It's the one thing he done with Kilmarnock. He'd always stick to his system. And look, if they go and show any glimpse of a high home starting well, they'll fancy themselves getting a good result.
Okay, let's move on now to the game. It's a weird time for a game on the Saturday night, but I'm happy to see it, Robbie. It's Hibs against Dundee United, 5:45.
By the way, sorry, can I just jump in? Are we? Obviously we've done Kelly and Celtic, and are we doing predictions this week for the games or?
Yeah. Sorry. Yep. On you go. I don't know if you want time to think about it, Alex. But we'll go to Robbie first. Kilmarnock Celtic.
Kilmarnock Celtic will go 2-1 to Celtic.
2-1 Celtic. Robbie. Alex.
I'm gonna go for 1 each.
One sitting on that fence again. I think since you and Ethan came on the show, and I know Robbie's not been on for a few weeks, but me and Robbie, me and Ethan and Alex has built a fence. You can't see it, but we just sit on there every week. It's starting to get cold, so I might come off the fence in a few weeks. What about Rangers and Hearts, Alex?
I'm going to do my usual 3-0 Rangers. Never works out, but I'm going to go for it. Yusuf Chermiti debut hat-trick there.
Robbie?
I'm going to go 1 each. Ibrox. I think.
Oh, not another 1 each. I can't do any more 1 eaches.
I mean, we've had 4 1 eaches in the last 4 games, so I know how you feel.
There you go. There you go. The Saturday night game, Robbie. It's always good to see 2 games from the Premiership on the TV. Tomorrow night, 5:45 kickoff, and the Capico between Hibs and Dundee United. This should be not a bad game.
Aye, my old pal Jim Goodwin signed a new contract at Dundee United, ending his stay. I'm pleased for him. I think it probably deserves it, to be honest with you. I think you're looking at teams last season that had a really underrated year, I'd say. Dundee United are probably at the top of that list. I thought they had an outstanding year, so he'll be looking to obviously start that contract extension after a good result. But we know the quality of Hibs. I believe this game was on the telly last year as well, Michael. About halfway through the season at Easter Road. Don't know if it was in the Cup or in the league. I can't remember, but look, I think it'll be a good game again. Both have got some really good players. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk. I believe I've read somewhere that Dundee United have lost 13 Scottish players and they'll bring in a single one. So they've went in a sort of different route this season with their recruitment. But it can work. They've got some quality players in there. Zach Sapsford is one that looks like a really, really good signing for them. So, they've got key players in there. I think it'll be a good game as well.
Yep. Looking forward to this one, Alex. It should be a good game.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting game because I think Dundee United have been hot and cold at moments this season. Robbie mentioned Zach Sapsford. He's kind of been one of the standouts. I think Max Waters started quite quickly and dropped off just a tad. He might be injured. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, and Ivan Dolček as well. I think he won the Premiership Player of the Month. He's been sensational since coming in, and I read that Dundee United were already trying to bring him in permanently, and they were entering into contract negotiations with him. So they've definitely had a decent start to the season. They've got some good individual players. But yeah, they have been hot and cold, and I just think that Hibs will have too much for them. I just think Hibs are more consistent. They have a better squad, I think, top to bottom. I think probably in every position, maybe except from the wing where Dolček's playing right now. I'd choose a Hibs player in a combined 11. It would be Dolček and 10 Hibs players, I think. So I think it should be a good game, but I think Hibs will come out on top just because they've started the season more consistently. They look more dangerous, and they've sort of shown they can sort of go toe to toe with people in Europe and stuff like that.
I know as Scottish fans we were probably a bit disappointed Kieran Bowie never got any minutes, but I think any Hibs fans probably quite glad he got that sort of rest at the international break, no playing 90 minutes because they want him fit and firing. I think that will play massively into Hibs' favour. Alex, I agree with you not to give my prediction too early, but I do think Hibs might just have too much for Dundee United at the weekend. I think obviously at home, they'll feel probably a bit disappointed against us that they didn't win the game after obviously that controversial decision that obviously the SFA came out and said they got it wrong. So, they'll probably feel a bit of grievance. They'll want to go and start this next sort of block of games with a big win. And I agree with you. I think Hibs, they have a lot of quality. And as I said, that international break would have probably helped him a lot more than most teams in the league, to be honest.
Yeah. And on your thing about people being relieved, Hibs fans being relieved, Tam McManus actually came out and said he was relieved that Kieran Bowie didn't get any minutes during the international break as well, because he was he was fearful that if he did come on, it could be he could get an injury that wrecks Hibs' season. He clearly sees him, and the supporters as well clearly sees him as the main man this season for them, an up and coming sort of. He was decent last season, but I feel like it's all coming together. If he can stay fit, this is the season for him where he'll be the main man. And yeah, I think as the Hibs fans like to call him, Hibby Stardust, which is a cracking nickname. It's going to be a big season for him. I think he'll probably will get on the score sheet this season. Not this season, this weekend.
And I mean, I think the international break just came at a good time for Hibs because they were close to in the next round of Europe as well. Reagan unlucky to get knocked out by penalty kicks, but that just buys them more time in the international break to kind of like regroup and then go again.
Yeah, I mean they've been so great to watch this season. They've been brilliant. And I think it's credit to David Gray and Malcolm Mackay as well, because they've bought a really good squad. Look at the striker they signed for £1 million. I mean, he can hardly get on the pitch, but I think it'll be interesting to see if they can genuinely win a trophy this season, because I think the Premier Sports Trophy is up for grabs this season. I think this is one of the years where I can genuinely see Celtic or Rangers not winning the trophy.
Yeah, but Hibs won't be winning it, I don't think, because the road comes through Ibrox, mate. So no chance. For anyone who's just tuned in, I'm under no delusions. I know Rangers are terrible. That was just a wee joke.
I'm actually thinking St Mirren may have a good wee chance. I mean, if you can get to that past the quarter final next week, then you never know. Semi final at Hampden, and then just try and avoid Celtic probably, and then feel they've got a chance.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, and just a quick word on Robbie's pal, Jim Goodwin, as well. I believe that he signed the new deal with a pen that you gave him when he left, as well. So that was nice, Robbie.
Aye, we were having talks, and he was saying how good it was, how good the pen felt to write in. But no, I'm not happy for Goodwin. He deserves the contract, as I said earlier. I think Dundee United probably had one of the most underappreciated seasons. One of the most underrated. I thought they were excellent. Deserved to be in top six, and I think they could push for top six again. It'll take time to see how these players settle in, and obviously Nemdi's an expert on the players because they all come from different places. I believe there's people from Croatia, Armenia, lots of different places. So we'll need to see how they bed into Scottish football. But I do think Dundee United have done the progression, and to get a coach, signed up my long term is always a good thing as well. And clearly they have belief in Jim Goodwin and what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jim Goodwin's he was halfly treated at Aberdeen, Robbie, but he's a very good manager.
He is. I just think again at Aberdeen, I think he was too inexperienced for the job at the time. I'd be interested to see how it will work out now with a bit more experience under his belt. But he found that team that he wanted to go to, Dundee United. He got them up for the championship, and he's continuously built, kind of like us. We come up for the championship a couple of seasons. You get that guy that really believes in the system, really believes in the club, and they start building upwards. And let's be honest, I think the sky's the limit for Dundee United. I really think they can do well this season. Again under Good.
So that is the Dundee United. The Hibs Dundee United game. What do you make of this game, Regan? 6:15 on the TV. It's a brilliant time on a Saturday night.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. I think Hibs are playing well, and so are Dundee United. So I think both teams have got players in there that can really do well. But I expect the Highways to win.
Robbie, what about you in this game? Are you going for your pal or are you going for the Highways?
No, unfortunately, I'm not going for my pal Goodwin this week. I just think Hibs will be too strong at home. So if you want a prediction, I'll go 3-1 to Hibs.
3-1 to Hibs. There you go. So that is the 6:15 kickoff tomorrow night. Let's go on to the New Boys versus Robbie's Boys. If that makes sense. Falkirk against St Mirren. At the new, I used to call it the new Falkirk Stadium, but I suppose I'm getting old now, Regan, and I come away with that. But I don't think it's called that now. Might be the old Falkirk Stadium. I don't know. First of all, before we talk more Falkirk, Robbie, what about St Mirren so far this season?
I think we've been good this season. Obviously, an international break allows a lot of players that we signed, during the season to maybe catch up. I think Robinson said multiple times, guys like Malik Dyke, Jamaro Calvin have not really had the match fitness yet to come into the squad. So having that international break gives them a bit more time to get some extra training in, which I believe Robinson was saying in his presser earlier that he's done. But look, we've been good to watch this season. Again, we've actually started off really well, in my opinion, considering the list of games we've had at home. We've played the top three, we've played Hearts in the Cup, we've played Motherwell. So to come away with that with 4 points, barely conceding, scoring a few goals in there as well, it's only a positive for us. And again, look, I'm under no illusions it's going to be a tough game against Falkirk tomorrow. They're well set up side. John McGlynn, it was nice to hear him praising us actually yesterday in his press conference. Talking about you should be looking at clubs like St Mirren and how to grow in the league, which was nice to hear. Falkirk will be up for this as much as we will. I do believe it's a sold out game as well, and certainly on our end it has 700 fans. So I am quite excited for it, Michael.
Robbie, if
Yeah.
you're going to the Falkirk Stadium, they do a thing called a chicken curry pie. Oh my God, Robbie, you'll be loving that. I mean, the pies are lovely.
Unfortunately, I'm not making the trip through tomorrow to go to the game, but I do want to try and get to the Falkirk Stadium at some point this year, because it's always nice to go to a different stadium. And Falkirk I always think Falkirk are kind of like us, they're a bit community driven. They like getting the fans engaged. It seems like it's a good stadium to go to, so I am quite excited for the actual game tomorrow as well.
It's a really nice ground. I've probably said this like eight times on here, but I have been a couple of times, and it is really, really nice. And it is, it's just a great place to watch football. And the surface as well, although it's artificial, it's so, like, when I was there, it looked so good that I had to do like a double take. And I was right up close to the pitch at one point, and I was going, as an artificial surface, but it looks really, really good. So.
And that's for Falkirk, Alex. It's brilliant to have them back in the big time, and a good Skigum as well. And I think I've said this a lot of times as well. If they can get that end opposite the main stand, Bill Gaskang there, it would be a brilliant Skigum. I mean, it is a brilliant Skigum now, but I think I would just put icing on top.
Yeah, it is good to have them back. I like having different clubs in the top kind of division. I like it when we get a wee bit of rotation. Because when it can get a little bit boring when it's the same clubs coming up and down all the time. I think St Johnstone will probably come back up as the champions of the Scottish Championship this season, although they did stumble a little bit in the last game, but I think they will come up as champions of that league. But I think as a whole, there could be other teams that could push. Raith Rovers look good, Partick Thistle look decent. Dunfermline, I think, have the tools to make a push, although they've not started too well. So I do like it, and it's good to have Falkirk back and just bring a bit of variety to the league. And I feel like they're quite an unpredictable side for me this season, and that's exciting. You don't know which kind of Falkirk are going to show up. And they brought in in the last few days of the window, they brought in a few young players, loan signings that we've still yet to really see. Of course, I think Kyrell Wilson scored on his debut in that 1-0 win away at Tawdry against Aberdeen. So, they are exciting, and I think it will be an exciting game as well. I've mentioned it before, but I feel like the league this season, it's kind of overall quality in terms of how close the rest of the pack are. For me, it's still early, but for me, I feel like it's the strongest it's been in a while. And the way we've seen our teams kind of compete in Europe, kind of obviously Rangers and Celtic aside, I think Aberdeen looked decent up until they got that kind of unjust red card, in my opinion. Hibs competed really, really well. Dundee United competed well. I just think the overall quality is better this season.
Yeah, and also, am I right in saying, guys, that there was a report out? I know it was that season, but I think it was like a few weeks ago that we're still the most league well supported league in Scotland by kind of like all the teams, like the attendances are up.
Yeah, I think we've got the highest attendance in Europe per capita or something like that. I'm not 100% on what that means, but I just think it means like relative to kind of the scale of the stadiums and the sort of percentages of attendances, we get a lot of supporters in, and Scotland is a footballing country, and very passionate supporters. Maybe a wee bit too passionate at times, but we love football. and even if it might not be the greatest to watch sometimes, especially in Scotland, we love football and we get involved.
And that's a good thing about this season as well. I don't think it's, just the fans and attendance, but the football seems to be improving the standard anyway. There's managers in the league now that aren't just going to sit back every game. If you're the sort of underdog, there'd be a time where David Martindale's Livingston would come into the league and it played defensive every week and it was a bit grim to watch. But now it seems like every manager's genuinely no fear. They want to come in, have a go, they want to make a difference, and that just improves the standard of the league as well.
Yeah, definitely. And Hearts as well, even under McInnes, which is kind of strange. Look like they're playing some nice football this season. I'm a great admirer of Jens Bertholascu, and they've been so unfortunate. They should probably be top right now. Because I think they've perhaps been the better team in every game they've played this season for Motherwell. So hopefully for them, they can get their first kind of win this weekend. They play good stuff. We mentioned Hibs earlier. Even as well, like St Mirren, it's not as expansive and sort of good to watch, but I feel like they are moving a little. Correct me if I'm wrong, Robbie, but I feel like even St Mirren this season have moved a little bit away from just battering into people. You know what I mean? It is a more expansive style. I think Stephen Robinson sort of deployed this season.
I think solid. Like before, there's only so many times you can play out to Tayosi Olasanya up top and try and play direct balls right through the top of defences before teams start sniffing out how to play. So having the options of Mandro Nayunga, now Dan Lindolo is in the building. I believe he's fully fit to start the weekend as well, so he can make a difference.
Is he going to take the Olasanya role? Because I heard he's rapid.
I hope so. I mean, Ryan was asking the question in the chat earlier, how many goals is he going to score this season? I hope a lot. I hope as many as Olasanya did in his last sort of season was, but it's just good to have variety. You look at the midfield now as well. You've got Bacchus, Phillips, O'Hara, then you've got Fraser Taylor can come into the mix as well. You've got Calvin and Dijksteel. There's so many options, which is good. Means if a game you maybe need a tweak in the midfield or in attack or even in defence at points where we don't often need to tweak it, but if we're there, we have the options there to do so, and it just allows us to be a bit more expansive, as you said, and play some better stuff.
Do you know who's really impressed me this season, and maybe sort of unexpectedly, because I thought when Richard King had been brought in, he was going to be sort of the main centre half. But Miguel Freckleton, I think, has been excellent, and I didn't realise he was so young as well. I didn't realise that until like a week ago or something, how young he actually was, because he just gives off the vibe of like an experienced like defender who's like 32 or something like that, you know what I mean? But he's actually like 22 or 23 or something.
And he's had a good few years in football now. He's very, very mature. He knows how to play his position really well. I think we've somehow ended up with an upgrade on Richard Taylor, which I did not expect to have at this point. And there's a couple of people that have said it, and I'll say it as well. He could be the guy that breaks our transfer record like for incoming when we sell him, because he is good enough that we could sell him for a lot of money. In the future, obviously, we'd want to keep him as long as possible, but I see it's like we could get some good money for him.
We need a centre back, so Jeff, we just chuck you a couple of million. Would you be alright with that?
2 million, but I want 10 at least. Why not? 10 million, you can have.
10 million?
Aye.
You could buy St Mirren for that.
Robbie, do you know the transfer record, Robbie, for St Mirren? No?
I don't know off the top of my head, no. But I think getting maybe 1.2 million, I'd say, probably will break the record. Somebody can fact check that, I'm sure, and let us know in the comments. I'm actually going to look for it while you talk away what it is quickly, because I'm intrigued now.
There you go. So while Robbie does that, we will talk about the Dundee Motherwell game. Alex and Reagan, and I don't know if any of you I'm in two minds whether to say it, but it's a Friday night, so I'm going to say it. As you've been watching Stephen Presley's press conferences since he took over at Dundee.
Not like religiously, but I see like little clips coming up.
Right,
And
okay. Reagan, what about you?
No, not really, Michael.
Right, okay, yeah, okay. I've put myself into a big, massive hole now with that comment,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping you and Alex would get say, yeah, I watched that of the week, but sadly not. But no, Stephen Presley wears glasses at the press conference, and they look like an old woman's glasses. But yeah, let's move on from there. I might get into bother for saying that, but I don't
Michael.
care. Hmm?
Michael, I'll steer it back. £2.5 million is the reported biggest transfer fee for Craig Short in 1992. So if we're going to beat that, then it's going to be a bit more than that. But I think Freckerton, as I said, has the quality. But and just in terms of the game, I feel like I've not really spoke about too much. I think it will be a very open game. I think it maybe plays into both teams a bit better. You know, Falkirk will come at us. We can maybe counter attack a bit. I'm not gonna. I think Falkirk, they can ship goals. I don't think they're defensively solid by all stretches of the imagination. They conceded 3 to Livingston a couple of weeks ago, so you know they've got things in there that we can look to exploit. And I think if we pick the right team selection at the weekend, we can seriously have a go and get at them. And get our first win, because you know, as good as a start as it's been, the one thing we've not got yet is a win in the league anyway, so it'd be nice to get that checked off the list.
yeah, I know how you feel, man. I just realised we kind of skipped over sort of predictions for both of these. So Hibs first, and then obviously Falkirk and St Mirren. So Reagan, I'll come to you first. Have you got a prediction for the Hibs and Dundee United game?
I'll go 2-0 to the Highbees. 2-0 to the
All right, Robbie.
I'll go 3-1 to Hibs.
Michael, have you got one?
Yeah, I'm yeah, 2-1 to Hibs.
All right, I'm gonna go 4-2 to Hibs. I think it's gonna be a really high scoring game.
By the way, I want to thank Robbie and Alex for getting me out that hole there, because that comment I've made about Stephen Presley, just ignore that comment actually. But I thought it was quite funny actually. But if you get a chance, watch it next week, or you can still watch it this week as well. But obviously I'm not saying that when Stuart's on the show.
Michael, are you getting paid by Dundee to advertise a YouTube channel?
No, sadly not. As well, but
although Dundee, if you're watching, if you want to throw us a bit of cash,
yeah,
They've only been throwing us out and after Michael's comment about Presley.
Yeah, but anyway, I think we should do, before we talk about the next games, we'll talk about predictions for Falkirk and St Mirren. So I'll come to you first, Robbie.
All week I said 3-0, but I'm going 5-0 to St Mirren instead. We're going to get a big win.
5-0. Oof.
2-1 to Falkirk. Come on, that's my prediction. Just to spite you.
You and Ethan have got an agenda against St Mirren, I'm convinced, because every time I've been on this show this season, you've predicted a St Mirren loss every single time.
I don't know. There's just a negative. I don't know. I just have a negative association with St Mirren.
Well, they do skiing green up, Robbie, so maybe that's got something to do with it. No,
I'll go Falkirk 3, St Mirren 3. I'm going to go for a second.
Michael?
I will stick to Robbie. I will put Robbie wants me to be in this good book, so I'll say 6-0 to Falkirk. No, I'm on the kid. Just a bit of banter, guys. No, I will go 3-1 St Mirren.
seriously, but if Scott Arfield scores in this game, I might never come on this again because I don't think I can handle seeing him score.
Aye.
Um,
The wee salute.
Let's move on to my new pal up at Dundee, Stephen, if you're watching, hello. Against Motherwell Reagan.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a good game, Michael. I think Motherwell have started well, like you guys spoke about earlier, and Dundee are doing not too bad. So I think it's going to be a cracker. I think Dundee will try and dictate the match, but I think Motherwell are playing some great football at the moment.
Regan, I disagree with you, to be honest. I don't think Dundee have been good at all. I really
I disagree with Reagan as well.
I really don't like Dundee. I think they were absolutely dreadful against Dundee United in that derby game. I genuinely think.
Sorry, for context, I was on the plane when the derby game was on, so I wasn't able to see it.
I did not enjoy watching the derby. I thought Dundee United were just a million times better in all aspects. I think, although you could argue the transfer business, they've maybe not got enough in. The problem is, right, I feel bad for Dundee because you're losing guys that you can never replace with the same amount of quality. You're losing Luke McCowan. You're losing how am I forgetting the other one's name? The other midfielder. Luke McCowan. You've lost Lyle Cameron. You've lost, Simon Murray's maybe on a bit of a decline. You've lost guys like Joe Shaughnessy at the back that are so key, so critical. And let's be honest, a team like Dundee and a team like us as well, when you lose a ball.
Well, I mean, I quite like Danda. I don't know about you, but I think Danda's a good player.
I like Danda as well, but that's how I was going to get into. Losing these guys, you can try and replace them with Danda, but Danda's going to have it all to do himself now in that team. He is going to be the guy that Presley probably looks at and goes, right, I need you to be the key man. I need you to be the key output in the team because, let's be honest, the Dundee team's not exactly sparkling in quality like it used to be. And again, it isn't their fault, by the way. Teams like Dundee and us and Kilmarnock and anybody else around the level can't afford to replace McCowan and Cameron and all these guys. It's impossible for us. So, yeah, I know they need to just go with the best that they've got and hopefully that works out, but I genuinely can't see it.
Aye, because if you think back to a couple of years ago, Dundee were quite a sort of intimidating kind of prospect to go up against. They had multiple threats with Lyle Cameron, obviously, Luke McCowan, Scott Tiffany as well. He obviously left for Kilmarnock this summer, so it's been tough for them, and I don't think they have done enough to sort of replace those kind of players that they have lost gradually kind of over the past couple of years. And to be honest, I've been banging on about them, how good I think they've been. I think this is the Motherwell. This will be the win. And not to reveal too much about my prediction, but I think it's going to be a big one. Dundee have kind of... They've been weird for me this season because I thought they were rubbish, and then they got the draw against Rangers. I was like, okay, and then they picked up a little bit, and I was like, all right, they're looking like they're getting stuff together, and then they were rubbish. And what was the second terrible derby game of the day? At least that one had a couple of goals. They were rubbish in that, and they had less expected goals than Celtic and Rangers did. So and that was a really poor showing from both of those teams. So I think I'll just say it, actually. I think Motherwell are going to rip through them. I'm going 6-0.
Oh.
6-0. I'm being deadly serious.
Is it maybe too harsh for me to say I could genuinely see Dundee going through every game this season, no winning a game? Is that a bit too far stretched? I look at every other team in the league and I genuinely don't see who they can beat. From
Rangers.
No, but I cannot see them winning a game. I can't, and unless things drastically improve, they will, in my opinion, be relegated at the end of the season. But I'm not going to go, for my prediction, I'm not going to go as high scoring as Alex is going to go on the Motherwell end. I will go a Motherwell win. I'll go 3-0 Motherwell with this one.
And I forgot to tell Robbie that in you come, Stuart, the ex-chairman of Dundee, he's coming right on. Oh no, he's been away in the half. Yeah, so you're brave man, Robbie, and Alex, because I've a feeling that if he was here, you would maybe not have said that. Maybe.
No, I mean, I would have said 3-0. I don't think that's too bad a score prediction. All things considered, he went 6-0, so I don't think that's that bad. But Michael, what's your prediction?
I think if Alex was here, I think if Stuart was here, Alex would have doubled down his prediction to 8-0 Motherwell. But there you go. My prediction would be a wee 2-1 to Motherwell tomorrow. So I'm not just as bad, but yeah, I'm bad. Yeah.
I think it will show a bit of character. I mean, Alex, we were speaking about Motherwell and how they can rip apart teams with their system that they play, but I'm not saying it's going to happen in this game, but I think Motherwell, with the way they play, they are very vulnerable to also being picked a few goals in games this season, which, look, I think it depends how the defence gets going, and if the defensively forward, then maybe no, but I do think with the way they play, they are leaving themselves maybe vulnerable to conceding a few goals as well.
Well, we did see that, didn't we? After they were 3-0 up, and then conceded 3 in like the last half an hour or something to Hearts. So I think definitely there are spaces to be exploited. Just don't think Dundee have any kind of attacking threat to expose those spaces at all. May as well just put like a bucket of cheese up top and see what happens. Like, Simon Murray can't do it all himself. He needs support. And apart from maybe Jan Danda, and Jan Danda is not the type of... He's not really a runner. He's not really a guy who will get close to Simon Murray and help him out. So he's more of a facilitator.
Ooh, fancy word.
But I've got a couple in my locker now and again. But I just don't see any way Dundee could exploit anything except for maybe set pieces, which they actually do look quite strong from this season.
There you go. So that is Dundee against Motherwell, and yeah. So let's move on to our final game of the Premiership, and before we get into the Championship, of course, big news today: Inverness is out of administration, so that's good for Inverness Carry fans. We'll get into that in a bit. Robbie, the last game tomorrow, Aberdeen against Livingston.
I don't think it can be said enough how important a win is here for Jimmy Pullein. I think it's an absolute must win. I don't think you can say it any more than that. It's been such a poor start. Again, I know we say it every week nearly, Michael, but if he never won that cup, I think he'd be near enough sacked, to be honest, by now. It's been a really dreadful start. Bringing in, obviously, Stuart Armstrong's probably the big signing. That one, I don't know about you, Alex, but it really excites me, that one. That's a guy that, I don't think he's exactly, to quote unquote say falling off. For example, I think he's always kept a high sort of standard of level he's played at. I think he'd comfortably get into any other side in the league. I don't think I'm too far stretched in saying that. But I think he brings a lot of quality. And if I'm an Aberdeen fan, I'm excited at a signing like that. The only thing I'd say is, does Jimmy Pullein know how to utilise him properly?
Yeah. Gosh, sorry guys, this happens to me occasionally where I think I'm going to say something and then I've completely lost my train of thought. What did you just say about Jimmy Pullein?
I was talking about Stuart Armstrong and how good a sign that is for them, but I just don't know if Jimmy Pullein knows how to utilise him. Right,
there we go. Back to it. Stuart Armstrong is a really good signing. But it could, it's interesting because I don't really see a kind of Stuart Armstrong I've never really seen a Stuart Armstrong kind of role in that kind of Aberdeen side. It's not as if it was like crying out for him to come in and fill that. I think the signing that I'm more excited about is Jasper Karlsson. Like
Yes.
that's insane signing to make, especially for Aberdeen. It's ridiculous. I think he's gonna, because he's not had too good of a time of it in Italy. But see, if you look at his statistics when he was at AZ, Alkmaar, and the Eredivisie, he was brilliant. He was getting like 30 goals and assists a season. He was absolutely electric. And if he can find his feet in Scotland, he could be a serious player for Aberdeen. I just think Stuart Armstrong it's the classic, a Scottish guy who's been pretty good for most of his career. He's come back when he's ancient, and he's trying to kind of, I don't know, still play. I think he'll be fine, but I don't think he'll be great.
Before Carlson and Armstrong come in, it was looking like a pretty mediocre transfer window, to be honest. And then you bring the two guys in, it shoots for being a middle tier window to a top tier. I mean, again, as you said about Carlson, he's a really talented player. My only gripe again is Jimmy Tillene good enough for this job? I know he won the cup, and that would be his main argument as to why he should be good enough. But the league form getting into last season has been absolutely horrific.
Yeah, I mean, but Robbie, I think that's a good point you make. I mean, see, in terms of, surely he can't just get a free pass because he won the Scottish Cup. They need to show progression as well.
Aye, they need to show progression in the league. The Aberdeen board will have, I'm sure, really strict expectations on getting back into the top six this season. And you've got to say, for what we've seen in the league so far, Aberdeen don't look like they're in that mix. They can perform as well as they want in Europe and put in decent shifts in there, but if you're not doing it in the league, you're going to find themselves in bother. And look, Aberdeen have got a pretty big schedule coming up, as it gets into the later months when they're in Europe. So if they don't start turning things around, it will not be long before they find themselves behind the rest of the league.
Yeah, sorry. I'd agree with that as well. It's been a really sorry, boys. I'm flagging a little bit. I was actually out last night. So today's been kind of just recovery. I've not had a lot of sleep. But please drink responsibly. But
Alex didn't.
No, but sorry.
I see. Did you get any pub recommendations, Alex?
I would be here for ages if I started listing off all my pub recommendations. But Aberdeen really need to sort of kick on, and I feel like this is the perfect opportunity to do it. Because if they don't, I feel like that's a spiral into maybe it's really early. But if they don't beat Livingston, I feel like that is a spiral into perhaps a relegation fight. You know what I mean? Because if it keeps going on and on and on and on, it could get really, really bad for Aberdeen, and all the goodwill sort of Jimmy Tillene got from the Scottish Cup win, which was incredible. All that goodwill can sort of be taken away very, very quickly if they don't start picking up results, because what that Scottish Cup win did, I feel like, was buy Jimmy Tillene a bit of time and backing, because they did go on that incredible run at the start of last season, but I think I'm correct in saying they haven't won a league game since February or March or something.
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, that's not great. So tomorrow is a perfect opportunity for them, though, because I feel like Livingston are there to be got at. They've had a weird kind of. I was looking at them the other day. They've had like a weird kind of summer window. Livingston, they signed a bunch of guys. They signed Zach Rudden and then sold him to Dunfermline in the same window. They signed Yannick Vanner and they've loaned him to St Johnstone for the season, which is kind of weird. I thought.
Zach Rudden, I believe, made them about $100,000 as well, so they've made a bit of money off of him.
Aye.
I think what you said about Aberdeen's spot on, because I look at Aberdeen's fixtures there, that they're playing Motherwell next week at home, in the Premier Sports quarter final, and then they play Motherwell away and Dundee United away from home. So that's two big away games.
Yeah,
No.
So,
massive
so
away games.
so Aberdeen really need to win this game to really kind of try and appease the fans, I would say.
I think if they're getting more than 3 points at the weekend, and the fans are probably going a bit mental, to be honest with you, online. There's already some people that aren't particularly fond of Tulane in charge, which you can see online. You know, that it's no difficult to find a few fans that maybe don't back him as much. And if you drop points to Livingston at the weekend, it would be probably disastrous, to be honest with you.
What's your score predictions for the weekend, Alex? Aberdeen against the man that seems to be doing everything apart from selling the pies at Livingston. Well, not that we know of anyway. David Martindale.
I think I'm going to go with Aberdeen to get their first league win of the season, and I'm going to go with a hard-fought 2-1 victory for the Dons.
2-1. Reagan?
I'll go for Aberdeen 1-0. A very tight, boring affair, but Aberdeen get a 90-minute goal from Nisbet.
Or it hits off of Cassina Yengi's backside or something and rolls into the net.
Robbie, what about you? Aberdeen against Libby?
I'll flip Reagan's scoreline, go 1-0 Livingston.
Oh yeah, this is the Yengi derby as well, guys. Big game.
And it's the Shunny derby as well.
Aye,
Yep.
massive game.
I will go 2-1 Aberdeen.
Oh,
Just to keep my pals in the northeast very happy because I'm coming up there in a few weeks' time. So, you know, any decent pubs up there, Alex, that you can tell us about? In fact, I can
Aberdeen for although I've heard it's a good night out. So
yeah, I can recommend a few names, but I can't say it on the show for reasons I'll tell you after the show. Okay, so that is a Premiership. Answers on the postcard by the Alex, just in case you know the answers to that one. Robbie and Reagan, you're invited as well to maybe compete in this non-competition that we're having. Before we jump into the championship, some happy news today, guys. I don't know if you saw it. Inverness is out of administration, Robbie, and that's good news for Inverness Cali fans.
Brilliant news for Inverness. You know, it's never nice to hear about a club going through such troubles in any league, anywhere. You know, I think it happens in football too often these days, and it's obviously started feeding into the Scottish League a bit. We've seen a couple of clubs the last few years really suffer by admin and, you know, a lot of money losses. We're seeing it happening to Hamilton right now. They're going through a really tough patch, but Inverness, they're such a historic club in this country as well. You know, it's no, you know, when you speak to people in England, I don't know about you, but when I ask them the sort of big teams they know, Inverness does come up sometimes. You know, some people do know who they are abroad, so to see them go through the troubles was obviously sad to see, but getting out it and hopefully going on a sort of secure run now will only benefit the country and the league as well.
Alex, the big club up in Inverness.
Yeah, and it is. It's a sorry sight to see with any kind of football club. You never want to see that because at the end of the day, it's not just the club and the people who own it, it's the staff, it's the players, it's the community behind it, and losing that is a big chunk out of whatever community that club's in. So it's a really, really good thing to see. And and Robbie, I'd agree, one of the big clubs, one of the big names. I think when I was kind of learning about football when I was younger and stuff like that, I didn't really properly get into football until I was like 9 or 10. And then when I was learning about all the clubs and stuff like that, Cali Thistle was one of the first kind of names that I learned about as well from in Scottish football, obviously, along with likes of Rangers and Celtic, Hearts and all that. But aye, I'm really pleased. And I was listening to a podcast a few weeks ago with our mate Ryan Niven does Pitch and Patter, and he interviewed former Cali Thistle goalkeeper Mark Ridgers, I think, and he was talking about when he was there and stuff was when it was sort of all kicking off. I think he's got a role at Ross County now, but yeah, and it was not nice to hear about sort of the way the players were treated and stuff. So I'm glad that it's been sorted now, and yeah, hopefully it can be a good season for Inverness as well. And I think they're doing quite. I'm not 100%, but I think they're doing quite well despite starting with a points deduction.
So there you go. So that's Inverness. Before we jump on to the championship, if you like and subscribe the Scottish Football Zone on YouTube and hit the notification, and every time we go live, you will see us going live, obviously. And Alex will give us recommendations about pubs, and Regan will give us recommendations about food, and Robbie and me will just make up the numbers.
We'll just sit on the fence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and well, if you're coming onto the fence, Robbie, I need to build a new bit onto the fence because but I'll do that during the week. I'm not busy next week, so I will do it next week. I will do it in time for the maybe the Scottish Cup final in May. How's about that? So
why don't we try and organise a live stream of all of us like sitting on a fence? On a wall or something?
Oh, that would
be like microphones and that.
Yeah, Alex will have the big bottle of Buckfast in the background. No, and
I don't like Buckfast.
Like and subscribe the Scottish Football Zone on YouTube, and hit the notifications, and every time we go live you'll get and we've got plans to bring more shows and more subjects like women's football, the pyramid football, and youth football as well. So make sure you like and subscribe the Scottish Football Zone on YouTube. All right, guys, let's get jump into it then. The championship final lap of the show tonight. The game is Packet Thistle against Airdrie, 8:15 kickoff. Arbroath against Dunfermline tomorrow. Ayr United against Ross County. Queen's Park against Morton, and Raith Rovers against St Johnstone. As per usual, I'm going to ask you guys for the pick of the weekend.
I think as usual, I've got a couple. I think there's one main standout in terms of two really good teams going at it. I think an interesting one is Ayr United and Ross County. Both of them haven't started so well. So it'll be interesting to see whether one of them can sort of get the win and maybe get themselves going. Obviously, Scott Brown, their United manager, and then Tony Docherty will be looking to kick Ross County into gear and get them playing some nice stuff, scoring a lot of goals while also conceding a lot of goals.
I was just going to say, we recently Callum Davidson added to the mix as well at Ross County.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but that was a weird appointment for me as a kind of assistant manager, because I'm always used to seeing Davidson at the front of the helm as well. I actually interrupted you.
No, that's fine. That's a decent managerial team. there. The main one, though, the one I think everyone will probably be looking towards as the best game of the weekend in the championship is Wraith Rovers versus St Johnstone.
Yeah.
Because Wraith Rovers have started really well. Obviously, they're up there on 10 points with St Johnstone, but St Johnstone have a game in hand. But if Wraith Rovers can get the win over them, it would be massive either way. And it's a really, it's just a really exciting game. I'm hesitant to call it a heavyweight fight because it's not quite that, but it's two of the strongest teams so far in the division, and it should be an entertaining match.
Yeah, I forgot to say congratulations to Tony Dock up at Ross County. So good luck to him, and good luck to Cam Davison. I'm going to say about Cam Davison is I hope there's plenty of golf courses up in Dingwall because he likes a round of golf. But there you go. Robbie, what about you?
It's so difficult to choose every week, Michael. It feels like there's something big in every game. Including tonight with Partick Thistle v Airdrie. Matt Wilson's men are about to gear up and take on the champions of Scotland. So how will they figure into that? We've already mentioned Ross County taking a loss in their Tony Dock's debut game against Arbroath at home. How will he bounce back to that? Doug Emery's back, obviously in management now. Glad to see him back in the game. Glad to see him back managing. He travels to face Queen's Park, and you've got obviously Neil Lennon, Dunfermline travelling to take on Arbroath, who obviously, as I mentioned there, picked up a good win against Ross County. So there's many good games. I think if I'm not going to pick the same as you, Alex, I'll go Ayr United v Ross County just for that Scott Brown versus Tony Dock and Callum Davidson factor.
Aye, yeah. It's Championship's another interesting league this season. Arbroath have surprised me with the way they've kind of started. Because I just felt like Arbroath would kind of drift back down again after, they had that little kind of push for the title that one season. Didn't work out for them. And then I thought they would just sort of drift into back down and maybe float about in League One for a bit. I don't know. But they've come back with a vengeance this season, and that's why I love the Scottish Championship as well. I was talking about teams you don't expect earlier. I was saying I want different teams coming and challenging and coming up, and having Arbroath going up there again, maybe perhaps another title push for them. That would just be great to see, because I think that season where it was Arbroath and Kelly both going for it. The other one was Queen's Park and Dundee. But those two seasons are probably like my favourite kind of championship seasons in recent memory. And it's just exciting when an underdog comes up and they're making a play for the title. So hopefully we see Wraith Rovers and Arbroath right up there with St Johnstone the rest of the season, and hopefully other teams can get involved, the likes of Partick Thistles, and if Ross County can get their act together, and it'll make for a really, really exciting watch for all Scottish Championship fans.
I know we're talking about. Sorry, Mike. I know we're talking about who's who can compete on the top end of the table, but I really don't know who's going to be fighting at the bottom end either. It seems like any team can go away to end and pick up points. But Arbroath gone away to Dingwall, getting a 2-1 win's a prime example of how tight the league is. Anybody can beat anybody, so it's going to be really close this season to see who ends up where.
Yep, and I think it was a bit remiss for me to, when I was saying about Tony Dock back in football, I like to wish Doug Emery and his family well. He's back on the dugout in Morton, Robbie, and when things like that happen, football goes out the window. There's more important things in life to worry about, and that my thoughts and prayers go out to the family at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. I mentioned that there. Obviously, I came back. I believe he managed Saturday's game at home at Rovers. Unfortunately for him, it didn't quite go his way. But no, look, football takes second priority when it comes to situations like that. And obviously, I'm sure everybody here at the show wishes the Emery family well. Obviously, travelling away to Queen's Park tomorrow, he'll be hoping to go there and get 3 points and kick back to start the Morton season, because I do believe we've had a few decent results. I think we've travelled to St Johnstone and picked up a draw, so they'll be hoping to keep going in that respect.
Yep, so there you go. That's the weekend lineup playing the Premiership and the Championship. Thanks to you for watching tonight's Ask You Reagan, thanks to Robbie and Alex, and we will get on again on Sunday. And I presume I will send out a wee bit better on Sunday than I am at the end of the show. I think we got Darth Vader or something, but I've got the doctors, and hopefully I'll be back in time for Sunday. Enjoy the weekend.
You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.